Welcome back to another episode of TPC. I am joined with SMEET today. We've been talking about the Red Rivalry this week, OU versus Texas. This game is very interesting. These two teams have battled each other for recent memory. In the past, last year, the first game in the SEC play, Texas blew out OU in fashion. Michael Hawkins was the quarterback for that game. And there's still questions about who is going to be the quarterback in this game. I'm already saying who's going to win this game. But, Smeet, what is your opinion heading in this game for Texas Longhorns if they want to win this game?
Well, first things first, I think the Longhorns are going to come home out of Dallas with a big fat W. Okay. Reason being is because, we look at a more talented roster against who's played a harder schedule. And ultimately, I think Texas has a better offense when they're going, when they're clicking. And I think Texas has proven to have the better defense so far this season.
When it comes to that, the Texas defense is better than OU's, but I'm taking OU's front four, their front seven. I will take their front seven any day, in my opinion.
I'll agree with you on that. But their secondary, their secondary is not good.
That's the big issue. That is their issue. I'll say that. Their secondary is their weak method. Because you look at the Jackson Arnold game against Auburn, it was very bad.
I was just about to bring that up.
Because Cam Coleman abused their secondary, and there was a missed call of the PI. Honestly, Auburn should have won that game if they don't call that pass interference, if they don't call the PI at the goal line. But, the big issue is their front four against y'all's O-line. Because y'all's O-line did terrible last week in Gatortown. I don't know how many times Arch got sacked. I believe it was I just know it was bad because Arch couldn't get a single throw off because he took so much time in the pocket.
Totally agree. And I think I will say this, though. I think Texas's O-line issues are not personnel issues. They happen to be schematics issues. And that's going to be fixed pretty easily. I think especially going into this week against an opponent like Oklahoma, where we know they're going to bring the blitz, where we know that their front four is by far the strongest part of their defense, we're going to be playing them totally differently than a Florida team where the secondary is the best part of their defense. So, yes. I think also just stylistically, right, when you look at this OU offense, OU tells you what they're going to do. They're a very simple offense. No matter who's at quarterback. They Mateer or Hawkins, it doesn't matter. When it's a QB draw, you know it's a QB draw. When it's an RPO, you know it's an RPO. They run very little vertical game. Most of their passes are towards the middle of the field. They're not really throwing outside the numbers. We know what they're doing. And I think that's what it comes down to, is that you can't run that simple of an offense against a team like Texas who has the personnel that we have.
I think that I do agree with that because the personnel for OU is very limited. I think it's a led John Mateer offense. They depend so much on John Mateer's ability to run and his ability to make plays with his feet. And I think the receivers are good. Deion Brooks and Lewis, they're pretty solid. But I think it really just depends how John Mateer, if he does play, because if Michael Hawkins plays this game, I don't know how the game's going to go. I think it's going to be the same exact how it was last year, if anything, a blowout. Because I don't trust Michael Hawkins in moments like this, in the important games. Because you look at his career, the most important game, I think he got a win over, if I had to say, Tennessee.
I think it was Auburn.
Was it Auburn?
Was it Tennessee?
Auburn last year.
I think it was Auburn.
It was Auburn last year. And, kids can stay. He was okay. Nothing too crazy. It's Kent State. What do you expect? Let me see the stats. He had 3 touchdowns, 167 yards against Kent State's defense. Nothing too crazy with that. In the Temple, we played a little bit also. This team does depend on John Mateer's ability because John Mateer was the favorite for Heisman for a little bit, but I honestly think John Mateer's a little overrated. I'm just worried about y'all's play with Arch. Is the offense, because I trust the defense for y'all. I know y'all's defense can do really good. And minus the game against, DJ Lackway, actually, Florida did really good against y'all. I'll say they got the run game really good, made Dallas Wilson look like a top freshman, true freshman this year, scored 2 touchdowns on y'all on that 50-yard one, too, on the sideline. I very questionable if, I do not know if, because I see Malik Muhammad is questionable for this game, I think, for y'all. If I'm correct for that.
Is he?
He's probable. Never mind. The doubtfuls are, C.J. Baxter, because C.J. didn't play for y'all last week, right? He was Wisner.
Yeah, he did.
Is that correct? Wisner was y'all's running back last week. And that's another thing I got to say.
Yeah, or Wisner was that. It was one of the two.
We don't have a run game.
We don't have a run game, but a lot of that again is just it's bad scheming. It's not as much bad personnel; it's just bad scheming. I think, one big thing about this game is Arch got into the groove near the end of that Florida game. I think it's pretty obvious.
He did.
I think even though Arch has been struggling a little bit, even though he's been missing a couple throws, he does not suck. Arch has it in him, and he has it in him to be the best quarterback in college football. I feel very confident in that. He has all the measurables. He's all the intangibles. He's a great leader. The guys love him. The issue, playing quarterback for Texas is a lot like playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. It's a lot like being president of the United States. No matter how good of a job you're doing, there's going to be a lot of people calling for you to get replaced after one bad play. And Arch is a Manning, and he has two uncles you may or may not have heard of who had long and storied careers in the NFL, and I'm sure they're helping him out throughout this process, and he's going to be okay. And he knew what he signed up for when he came to Texas. Quinn Ewers was the highest ranked quarterback prospect of all time. He came over to Texas, and people started acting like he's a bum. He wasn't a bum. He did great at Texas. Maybe he underperformed a little bit, but that doesn't change the fact that he took us to back-to-back college football playoffs. And I think Arch is going to be just fine. I think Arch is going to have a great Red River game. This is really going to be his breakout game. And I think really towards the end of that Florida game, we saw him coming out. And again, that Florida team is a good team. Yeah, they've had a bad record. Yeah, they haven't been playing so good this year. Let's not act like DJ Lagway isn't a top quarterback prospect. Let's stop acting like Dallas Wilson wasn't the 8th-ranked wide receiver in his class. So
yes.
It was not like Texas, lost to, Northern Illinois.
Pretty much.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because playing in Gainesville is one of the hardest plays, because I kind of knew hardest places to play, because you go back to a game, Jackson Dart and Ole Miss. They had to win that game to go to the playoffs. They lost that game, got kicked out of the playoffs. Jackson Dart had a horrible game. Everyone's question is the draft stock going to go fall apart, because there was a drive that he threw picks on the same play, same drive over and over because they called it a PI on the play and they just kept throwing picks.
Yeah.
And, Gainesville is one of the hardest places to play in the SEC. And I'm going to say I give credit to that. Arch did get better late in the game. And in the first half, it was bad, just terrible in all parts of that. I forgot what was the score at halftime in that game. If I can see that. I think it was believed 19-7 in that first half. And y'all just started pretty slow. It's just y'all couldn't pick up anything going except like a little bit in the end of the quarters. But the thing is, usually offenses and teams have a big lead. They kind of step back a little bit, let them come back. Let go of the gas pedal pretty much because you're putting so much gas pedal. And else with the Florida team is a really good team in my opinion because you go to the LSU game, they limit Garrett Musmeyer in that game pretty much to 10 points, and Carson Beck a little bit in that game too. The defense is good. I'm not going to harp on Arch for doing terrible because that defense for Florida is really good. It's just DJ Lagway's a play. Can he perform? Because if he doesn't throw turnovers and just limit his ability to pass the ball, just make him a runner, they can win games in the SEC in my opinion.
And that's what they did. And there's just one play where the blitz is coming. Florida's running a mesh concept. The blitz is coming. DJ Lagway throws a beautiful sidearm pass. And this is the stuff that DJ Lagway was recruited to do because he can play out of structure.
Yes.
He can play within structure. He's an elite athlete. He has an elite arm. And the internet was acting as if Texas lost to a bunch of bums. Texas did not lose to a bunch of bums. Texas lost to a team that's been underperforming so far this year. But they played a great game against LSU. Their defense did.
They did.
And all that needed to happen was for Lagway to just kind of focus up, lock in, and play a good game. And that's exactly what happened, and we saw what happened. So, I'm not going to act as if that Texas loss was a horrible loss or, whatever, because it's not. And it's going to be okay. And I think looking at OU, I think OU, personnel-wise, Florida's more talented offense than OU. Just pure personnel-wise.
Because I think I don't like the run game for OU because they don't have a run game. They depend so much on Mateer to be their running back and carrying this team because he's second in yards and carries for this team and 5 touchdowns, most rushing touchdowns for this team. And in the receivers, I mean, you have Isaiah, Deion Brooks, and Lewis. I mean, not crazy pass catchers. It's just Mateer's ability to be a great quarterback for them is making these receivers great. That's the difference between Mateer and Arch because Arch. You look at the receivers for Texas, what is going on with Ryan Wingo? What is going on with, I know there's been a random white receiver been going off for you.
Livingstone? Yeah.
Not redshirt,
yeah.
Livingstone, yes. Him and Arch has been really good connection right there.
Yeah.
Building that. I know it's a white boy connection right there. But, I mean, Wingo, I need Wingo to be really good in this game because he needs to show up, in my opinion. Because last game, he did not do anything. I don't know what the stats were for him.
Well, he had the touchdown near the end. He had the post route where Arch stepped up in the pocket. Maybe.
Yeah, 73 yards, touchdown, yeah.
Yeah.
But, we need that big, consistent game for them. I know he has 4 catches, 73 yards, average 18 with a touchdown. And DeAndre Moore is supposed to be that X-factor receiver for y'all. He was supposed to fill that void for Matthew Golden. Because in that run with y'all's last year, Moore became that more of a second threat with Matthew Golden right there next to him a little bit with Isaiah Bond with that. That trio was really good because, the defenses didn't know how to do. They just double-team Isaiah Bond or, just single coverage, man-to-man, and just leave Moore wide open in the slot. And that's kind of helped that. And Moore's supposed to be that receiver for y'all this year. But give it credit, Livingstone has been really good with that, the connection with him and Arch. But, the run game, if y'all can establish the run game against Oklahoma, I do believe y'all have a chance to win this game. But if it's Arch Manning leading this team in the rushing yards, I think y'all get killed in this game because you cannot depend on your quarterback leading your team in rushing unless you're Lamar Jackson.
And I don't think it's going to happen this time around. I think one part about it is Texas in that Sarkisian offense, that RPO-heavy offense, it's hard to get some run going sometimes. The reason being is because, you still have that option, and it's almost like the runs are a little delayed. I think this week Texas is going to come out, and they're going to run power. They're going to run duo. They're going to run trap. They're going to run dive. They're going to run stretch. They're going to run plays, not RPOs. Just run. And, of course, Sarkisian's offense is always going to have RPOs. But Texas is going to run the ball with the intent of running the ball, not with the intent of having maybe a glance route or slant route or bubble or something else open. Texas is going to run the ball because Texas needs to run the ball. And it's going to get the offense going. And I feel very confident in our running backs. And I think, moreover, it's an interior O-line issue. And I think that's been very obvious to anyone watching the games. And also, we've been running a very predictable offense. I mean, it has been stale. We've run almost every single first down. It's been a run every first down. The second down is about 50-50, and then third down is a guaranteed pass. So when your offense becomes that predictable, it's really hard to move down the field. And I feel good about Sarkisian as a coach. I think a lot of people give up on coaches really quick. I think Sark is going to be just fine.
I do.
I think Sark is going to bring it. He's going to give it his A game this week because, and obviously in no way do I think Sark is on the hot seat. Even if Texas loses to OU and A&M this year, Sark is the man who's rebuilt this program. I have full faith in him, and we're going to be just fine. But he understands, as anyone does, how important this game is to the future of the season. Really, because if Texas wins out, I still see Texas as a playoff team pretty easily. I think if Texas wins out, I think if Texas wins out, and I don't know, maybe LSU drops another game, or Bama drops another game, it's going to be really hard to keep Texas out of the SEC championship game. But of course, it's not the primary focus right now. It's just
Got to be OU. You got to be OU. I mean, that's the one thing about Texas.
Got to beat OU.
It's 0-0. It's 0-0. These games, you look at the history between these guys. You look at the Kyler Murray versus Sam Ehlinger game. Kyler Murray lost the Red River game, but came back in the Big 12 championship, won that game. Baker Mayfield beat him twice. And in the past years, Quinn Ewers, won twice, but lost once against Dylan Gabriel and OU. That Dylan Gabriel team was a shocking factor, beating y'all, because y'all's team was really good. Now, it did make the playoffs that year because, they did lose to Oklahoma State that year, or to a random team, I believe, in the Big 12, and that's how y'all got into the playoffs a little bit. But, these games are the most important games. I know recent memory, in the Starks era, he's only lost one game. That was it. And that was that 40 to 45 game
year.
Going back and forth. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was the Caleb Williams year?
It was the Caleb Williams year.
That was
yeah.
not the Caleb Williams year.
No. Gabriel didn't win.
The year, yeah, it's the Gabriel year, I thought, when y'all was lost.
Was it the Gabriel?
Because Stark came in what, 21 or was it 22?
21, because it was right after the Bama year that they had, where Mac Jones and the Devonta Smith Heisman. Wait, never mind. I think you're right then. I think you're right. It was the Gabriel year.
Yeah, it was Gabriel, because that was his first year losing to, OU. Because y'all had that great roster of, the Sweat, Murphy, Mitchell, and that was the year y'all lost to Washington, pretty much, that season.
Yeah.
So I think he
actually
has beating OU.
Yeah, it was that year.
Built the standard. Yeah.
He has
built the standard of beating OU in that stretch, because in 2021 it was 55-48, and that was the big year. And then 21, y'all beat him 49-0, and 34-30, and then 34-3. So it's been so far dominant in this era of him. And Sark has been a great coach for Texas. Kind of rebuilt the program for y'all. I mean, it's a foundation pretty much, but it's just people question about his play calling a little bit, especially what you said is predictable, because when it depends on the motion, people can tell it's a pass or not with his motion now in the past years, because that's what a lot of teams are getting to, is like, okay, if they motion this way, it's a pass, and they motion that way, it's a run. It's getting a little predictable, and I do think he needs to change up his gameplay a little bit. I know he can. He led that 2020 team, Alabama, to the championship.
Maybe one of the top 5 college offenses ever.
Definitely, with Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Waddle, Najee Harris. I mean, that offense was insane that year, and that's what this team needs. I mean, this is his first quarterback that's actually can run and has the dual threat ability, because he's always had a pocket quarterback with Mac and Quinn in this era. I mean, I know a little bit of Tua also, but this is his first actual quarterback he can generate talent. And I don't know if he's just getting a little trigger happy with that, the ideal with it, or trying to find something to build with Arch of a good playbook, pretty much. I mean, that's why Arch has been the leading rusher for this team. It's just, if they can figure out how to win this game, I think the season for Texas is back, because it's a one loss. If they can somehow flip it back, and just because that's one loss on the SEC, because to Florida. And then you look back at it, that's not a bad loss, because the Ohio State loss it's a non-conference loss, so it doesn't harp on you that too much, because you still got Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M still on your schedule. And I think the Vanderbilt game, after what we saw what happened to Alabama did to them, I think you can win that game now, because the Vanderbilt got exposed. You just got to limit Diego's ability to run and just make Diego force turnovers pretty much. Make him make mistakes. If he makes mistakes, you're going to win that game pretty much. Georgia,
and make him sit in that pocket.
At Georgia, it's not. Yes, you have to make Diego sit in the pocket, because he can't read the field, in my opinion. He's just he has to do it himself. He has to roll out or something to use his feet, type of quarterback. And I look at Georgia's game. It really is going to depend how y'all's going to stand against the run. I trust y'all's defense pretty much. It's just, can Arch win on the road? And that's the thing, is when the snowball effect. It's a snowball effect if you can't win on the road. You need your first road win in your career. If you can't, people are just gonna get the narrative. He can win at home, but he can't win on the road. It builds that narrative.
And that's true. And that gives credence to this idea that Arch can't handle the pressure, which I think he totally can. I mean, there's a lot of pressure that he's already handled so far, and I think he's going to be just fine. Mm-hmm. But I really do think that Georgia game is going to be a really important game. And even if Texas, one part about it is Texas just can't afford to lose this game, because if Texas loses, and then there's going to be no motivation, there's going to be no locker room going into Georgia, going into A&M. Which A&M's at home, but still, there's going to be so many.
It's hosting A&M.
Yeah, there's so many factors that go into this. that go into this game, and there's so many outcomes out of this game too, where Texas cannot afford to lose. It's also for recruiting. Texas has a really good O-line class coming in. But, if you can't coach O-line, if your O-line doesn't look so good, a lot of these freshman O-linemen don't play much, right? Because you got to be big, you got to be fat, you got to know the system. So, it's going to be hard to justify to these O-linemen that, like, hey, you're going to play behind a shitty line for a year or two, and then you're going to come in, and then you're going to have to handle all the pressure. Like, no, these guys do not want to do that. Recruiting-wise, it's going to be really hard for Texas, with a loss to keep those prospects. But I think Texas is going to be just fine. I think it really, as you said, it comes down to the run game. But I think that Texas defense can handle John Mateer. And, what's interesting is when Hawkins comes in, it's not as different of an offense. It's a little bit more run-heavy, of course.
No, it's not.
It's not as much passing down the middle of the field. Not as much passing throughout the middle of the field. But, it's not terribly different, right? So I think either way Texas is game planning for Mateer or for Hawkins, it's a relatively similar game plan. And Texas is going to be just fine. That defense is going to be just fine.
And that's what the thing is, OU went out this year to fix this offense, because Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins were two different quarterbacks. They want to run the same next offense for next year. With Mateer leaving for the draft possibility, they want to run the same offense over and over because they do not like change. And I feel like their coach they have, he's more of a defensive coach. If anything, he doesn't like this change because his defense has been consistent every year. Pretty much, being the top 10, top 15 every single year in college football. It's just the offense has been the lackluster. He's just trying to find that format to bring OU's offense back like how Lincoln Riley is. It's kind of crazy how it flips. Like, when Lincoln Riley was a coach, the offense was insane, but the defense was mediocre. But now you have a defensive coach now. Your defense is great, but your offense is so lackluster. It's kind of a weird change right there for OU's history. And if I had to say my final thoughts on this game. Yeah. But my final thoughts on this game, I'm going to take OU in this game because I do believe their front seven is going to abuse those O-line again. I think I saw that what they did to Auburn with 10 sacks and what Florida did to y'all last week, and they could put pressure on Arch, and Arch has to roll out and be the main rusher. I think it's going to be a brutal day because that front seven is the dangerous front seven I've seen this year so far. But I'm going to say that it's only if Mateer plays. If Mateer plays, I trust it. And I think Mateer's ability to escape against that defense, and this is going to be his first test against a top defense. I know Michigan was a great defense a little bit, but there's a difference between Big Ten defense and SEC defense. I know that, big gap. But I'm going to take Mateer in this game, and I think he's going to lead this team. I think he's going to lead OU for this win, in my opinion. And what are your final thoughts about Texas?
Final thoughts, I think that Texas, I think more importantly, Arch Manning's going to come through. I think it's going to happen.
Sorry for what happened. We lost SMEET for a quick minute. His prediction is Texas, of course. I'm taking OU. This is going to be a phenomenal game. I thank y'all for joining this episode of TPC. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And, check the TikTok, check the Instagram. I do not know how one yet. We'll get there soon. But follow our pages, and thank y'all for joining us today.